Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Talent Acquisition Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Donna Pacheco. How you doing, Donna? You okay?
I am great. Thank you so much.
For everyone listening, we had a bit of a confusion on the virtual podcast studio location and links, but this is post-COVID podcasting, Donna, so we're allowed to make these mistakes now, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Exactly. But Donna, for the folks listening that don't know you, I'm just going to do you a bit of an intro. If I get anything wrong, feel free to shout at me. I started back in roughly 2011. You then progressed on to IMCO as a corporate recruiter. You were then at MYR Group for over 7.5 years. You were then a recruiter at Cross Country Healthcare and at Lineage Logistics. And you are currently a talent acquisition specialist and have been your current position for almost 3.5 years now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite and excited to be here today.
Yeah, cool. I feel like we've been talking about this for quite a long time, haven't we? I think some of the postponements were my fault. I think some were yours. So I think we're about even on that front.
Just like everything, life gets in the way.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I'm looking forward to chatting, Donna. I know from the feedback I get from the listeners that sometimes us recruiters don't quite realize how much people on the market value listening to recruiters chatting. And I think some things that seem just second nature to me and you, because we do them all day, every day, just aren't to certain people. If they've not been on the job market for 3, 4, 5, or even 10 years, some of the things are all new to them. And I think especially in this market, it's certainly not normal. A normal market is certainly not normal times, and nothing seems normal anymore, and everything seems very volatile. So I think these type of conversations in this market are pretty useful for folks because it's crazy out there, Donna, at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely unprecedented. There's not really a model to follow because we haven't experienced a lot of what's going on and what has happened post-COVID, really. For those folks that are joining the job market right now, it is tough, especially if they haven't been on for 10 plus years or even 5 years. There's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, I feel like we're still kind of like, it's that post-COVID hiring boom hangover almost, because it was just like 2021 and 2022 were just the craziest years ever, the hottest market I've ever seen. I don't think we'll ever see a market that hot again. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I feel like there was a lot of over-hiring done in that market. Some of it's kind of AI, some of it's like the really big tech companies making cuts and everyone copying. But yeah, I feel like there's kind of a post-COVID hangover still. That was a really crazy time, wasn't it? That 2021 type period.
Oh, it was absolutely insane. It was definitely an employees market.
Yeah.
I think that things have changed. I think it's still an employees market in some respect, but it's more maybe an industry situation, depending on which industry you're in, is going to navigate whether you're getting hired quickly or you're going through 10 interviews before you know whether you're going to have a position or not. I think that technology has done a lot of leaps and bounds, both in the way that we post jobs and the way we search jobs and the way that we get hired. I think there's a lot of different things that are going on than there has been in the past.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be nice to talk about different things you're seeing, Donna, with people on the market and get your insights into maybe some advice you've got for people out there that are looking for roles. I think the point you made there about industry, I think that's a really good one just to pick up on briefly, because what I see is that you can be doing, if I just pick, say, a cybersecurity engineer, in certain sectors, there's no demand for them whatsoever. But then in other sectors, there is. I notice even from my own perspective from different hiring, whereas before I'd maybe focus on more of like a typical security consultancy. Maybe now I'm recruiting for a pharmaceutical company or a logistics company that still wants cybersecurity engineers. I think sometimes you can almost make adjacent pivots in a similar market and find that there's kind of pockets of positivity within the same job role. You can kind of traverse across different industries while doing the same thing. And that might be a bit of a cheat code for certain job seekers out there as well, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I think when you're considering what industry you might be able to fit your skill set in or your background or knowledge, looking at the types of industries, specifically, I think around the technology that they're using. What kind of security platform are they using? And hopefully the companies and industries out there are doing a good job of posting kind of the skill set that they're looking for to help our job seekers navigate that. And then the nice thing too, talking about technology, you've got a ton of AI options out there that you can plug in and say, what does this company do for their cybersecurity needs? And if there's been any information out there gathered, it might lend a little bit of insight to that job seeker that, they're using whatever it might be. I use that. I'm going to put that on my resume and I'm going to submit my resume.
Yeah, it's true, Donna. I noticed to get information on companies and stuff now, it's just never been quicker and easier. Same for me with client meetings. You can find the ins and outs of just exactly what that company does, what's going on. It's almost got too easy. You can start taking it for granted a little bit. It's like everything's there, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And then, there's the other aspect too of you can build a resume using like ChatGPT. You can build a resume in 30 seconds. You just copy and paste what you have, put it in there and polish it. You can even add in the company that you're interested in applying to, and it's going to pull any kind of open source information out there and put it in that resume. So everything that we used to do 3 years ago to build our resumes it's a different ballgame for the candidate. But you have to know what to use or where to go. And so many folks don't know that those tools are available. And there's always kind of a cloud out there saying, oh, you shouldn't use AI to build your resume. Sure, use the tools that you have available to you, but also trust and verify, because ChatGPT is not 100% accurate. So take that into consideration.
Thanks, Donna. It's nice to hear you say that about you welcome using AI as well, because you're not the first recruiter I've heard to say that. And I think there is some people think that we don't want to see any AI used at all, but it's probably the opposite, because AI is definitely going to change the world. It's definitely here to stay. We want to know that people can use it. I think if people are creating AI resumes with a load of skills on there that they haven't got, that's a different thing altogether. But if you're actually making a genuine resume and using AI, that's completely cool,
I definitely think so. In this market where you're competing against other candidates who are using those tools, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Am I saying everybody go use ChatGPT or there's like so many out there to build your resume all the time? Maybe not, but you could get a shell started and then fine tune it. You need to make sure if it puts something on there that you don't know what it is, maybe don't keep that on your resume, because in the interview, it is going to come up and you're going to need to be able to pull from an example. And you definitely don't want to be Googling it while you're on the interview, what it means. And yes, I have had that happen when on those video interviews and their eyes are wickedly going back and forth like they're reading. Yeah. Well, that's a problem. Hiring manager is going to definitely pick up on that. Yeah. I say use it with caution.
Have you had the one yet where you can tell that basically the candidate's got writing either side of your face and they're reading writing by the side of your face? Have you had any of those ones yet?
I haven't seen anybody use like Google Glasses or anything like that on the interview yet. But if you're talking about like the reflection on the computer, I just always assume that the resume is pulled up in front so they can reference their work history and their experiences, or maybe they have a project list that they're referencing. A lot of times I tell my candidates, if they're going in for a video interview with the customer, print out that resume, put it onto the side, put your notes on the side so it doesn't look like you're reading a response.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And do you know what? I think that point that you just made there, I think it was always pretty important, but I think actually now it's probably way more important, because there is so many different things out there where people are getting answers given to them in real time on the screen. And if you're doing something as innocent as just referencing back to your resume to check the thread or something, someone could easily mistake that for thinking you don't actually know the answer to the question these days,
Yeah, and I've even had it on phone interviews recently where I've had candidates, I'll ask about a specific, tell me about the infrastructure you're using or whatever it might be that my client might need to have. And there'll be a small pause, some clicking, and then they'll have an amazing answer. And then I have to follow up, because as a good recruiter and doing my due diligence, okay, provide me an example of how you use that. And now they're stuck because they don't have a relative answer. Yeah. They Googled it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing you said a few minutes ago, you used the phrase shell start and basically getting your resume as a shell start and then making it in. I think that's a great way to do it. I mean, I've been doing that with full disclosure. I've been doing that with some of my LinkedIn posts lately. I've been getting a LinkedIn post, getting like a template or a shell from AI, and then actually sitting there and taking chunks out, rewriting bits, and moving things around and kind of making it my own. And it has actually helped with my own posting. So it's like a hybrid version. And like you said, using it as a shell, I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, it's no different than if you were to use Grammarly or anything like that when you're writing on a paper or a business letter. It's no different. Grammarly is a tool that you're using, but it's not necessarily submitting it. You're still in control of what you submit. So you need to do the due diligence of ensuring the information that you gathered and that it's relative what you've been in your history. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, it does. Yeah, you've basically got to not fall into the trap of, it's easy to get lazy. I think technology, if you let it, it can kind of make you really lazy. If you're reaching out to a client and you use the templated response that LinkedIn gives you, you're probably going to get a terrible response rate. Whereas if you tweak it and personalize it, you're probably going to get a great response rate. And it's the same, let's say, whether you're putting a resume together, a LinkedIn post, whether you're outreaching to an employer or a candidate or whatever it might be. It's kind of, I use this phrase all the time with my team and I use it on the podcast a lot, but kind of slowing down to speed up almost. It's really easy to sit there and just go click, click, click and think that you've been hyper productive and you won't actually get any results. Where if you just kind of take a step back and keep the goal in mind and don't get lazy with your brain, it pays dividends, I think.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. Just doing your due diligence, and you can even research companies and research types of projects, even for Department of Defense. You can oftentimes, anything that's obviously any kind of information that's open and unclassified, you can research a little bit about what that contractor's been involved with, what kind of projects they've been awarded, identify areas that maybe you as a candidate could assist. Like, oh yeah, I have knowledge in cyber defense and I've supported missile defense projects in cyber. Yes, I can help with that, or whatever it might be that you're looking to do in your next adventure. If it's something that you don't have experience in, that's okay too. Don't put down that you have the experience, because it's not going to work out in your favor in the end.
No, it's not. And yeah, like you say, anything on the resume will be asked. You've really got to know it. And I think there's stuff about you researching the companies as well. Like, for people listening, so many people just will not be doing this. If you did 10 minutes intensive research, I think that would be more than pretty much anyone. If you did 5 minutes intensive research on a company, if people are listening to this and they're on client meetings, or people are listening to this and they're applying for jobs, if you do just some really intensive short research, I think straight away that just puts you like towards the top bracket.
Exactly. And with AI, you can do that very quickly. So kind of thinking about job descriptions, when we're looking at job descriptions for candidates out there listening, pay attention to the qualifications area. This is what recruiters are going to say. Does this candidate meet these things? If they are required and you do not have them, your profile is not going to get moved forward 9 out of 10 times. So if you see like a piece of technology or maybe a platform, a software, any kind of information like that, and you don't have it, don't be afraid to go research what other platforms are like it that you might have experience, and then make sure those platforms are listed, programs or software, whatever it may be. Make sure those are listed on your resume, because the recruiter may know, oh, okay, well, they have Siemens NX. Well, that's similar to doors. Okay, we can possibly use them. It just depends also on the customer. Sorry, kind of going down a rabbit hole, but I just wanted to bring that out, that, that's another tidbit maybe to help our candidates find work.
Yeah, it's really good, Donna, because I can relate to that as well. I was recruiting a lot of Rust smart contract hackers for one of my clients, and they're very hard to find. And we quickly realized that anyone from a C, C+, or C# background could actually pick Rust up quicker than most other people. So they started widening the parameters to looking at people with any of the C language background. So yeah, I can relate to that. And yeah, I think it's good advice. But just things you're saying, like researching the company, reading the job description to make sure it's a fit, not just kind of click, 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 apply to everything. Like, I think just even taking it one step back again and making it more simple. I think so many people don't do that. I mean, I rarely post job adverts because everything we do is proactive outreach. a sales rep from LinkedIn once talked me into buying some job adverts, and I bought them. And I had a librarian, Donna, apply for a security network engineering role. And that was, I just couldn't believe it,
I think in some respects, people are looking to make industry changes, or they're looking to, maybe they're bored, they're tired, or they just can't find work in their specialty, and they're just trying to branch out into something different. And I need to make a correction too. I said doors. I meant, I don't know, like any MBSE software. I was thinking doors has been on the brain this morning, but that's completely different.
Donna, when people on the market, so you mentioned the research, you mentioned they're looking at similar types of technologies or software to the ones that are being looked at. I think the market is starting to get a bit better now, but I've noticed still loads of people out there struggling. Is there anything else that people could be doing to basically make the job search more bearable for those that are struggling?
I've always considered recruiting as a relationship building position. Your ability to find people is based on not just technical searches, but when we're looking at passive searches, like looking for candidates that maybe are not on the market or are low key about their search, it's about building that relationship and keeping in touch. And I think the same thing can happen for candidates. I think that if you're interested in a company to work for them, find the recruiter or a recruiter that is on LinkedIn for that company and start building that relationship. Just a quick, hey, let's network. I'm occasionally on the market. I would like to build a relationship with a recruiter that's also in the market. Maybe we can network. I know a lot of people who work in this area. I noticed that you work in this area too. Let's network. There's a half a dozen ways to be able to build that relationship. And then you don't have to talk to them monthly. Maybe it's just once a quarter. You pop in and say, hey, how's everything going at I2X or wherever it is, that recruiter is working at. And just pop in and say hi, because just like a candidate will remember that recruiter that's checking in with them, so does that recruiter remember that candidate. It's all about relationships and networks. And I don't think that that's much changed. I just think that the platform that we do it within has changed.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I think as well, like that relationship element as well. I don't know if you've had much of this on your side, Donna, but like fake candidates applying and like people, like I've had a lot of my clients where they're sure that spies from different countries are pretending to be different candidates. So I think that relationship piece becomes more and more important from a trust element as well. Like obviously having the relationship there from a job seeker makes the door much easier to open. In fact, it's probably already been opened. But I think in an era where there's probably a bit less trust there and stuff like that, I noticed some of my clients have been saying to me recently, Tom, how long have you known this candidate for? And having that long-standing relationship, I think really carries quite a bit of weight these days.
I agree. We recently, and maybe some other recruiters might identify with this, but we recently started about 4 or 5 months ago getting spammed with these resumes. I'm an engineer and I'm looking forward to working with you in XX position. And I'm like, wow, okay, one, we don't provide that kind of engineering service. And two, if you pull down the to menu, there's like 300 or 400 email addresses on it. Like they're just spamming all of these recruiters and these companies. And it's crazy. And I've had literally responses from other recruiters like, take me off your list. I don't want to be on this list. I don't even know how I got on this list. And so that's all like AI spamming from a service of some kind that these folks are probably signing up for. And I guess, please help me find jobs. And it is crazy. But yes, to your other point, as far as like security, LinkedIn is definitely being targeted right now. Recommendations that are saying, even be careful about listing your clearance level on your LinkedIn profile now because they are being targeted other countries. And so that is going to make recruiting that much harder because it'll be harder to determine where is this person working, what kind of background do they have. And it's going to come down to being able to build those relationships because now we're going to need to be asking, hey, I noticed that you might have worked for the military. Are you on the market? Here's what we do. Does it line up with your experience? I don't know what that's going to look like in the coming year, but I have noticed that a lot of profiles are now scaling back. They might just list cybersecurity engineer and that's it. There's nothing underneath. There's no skill sets or anything like that, which is going to make it tougher, I think. But we do have to protect ourselves, both from a candidate and a company perspective.
I think it really makes me realize, Donna, is doing stuff like what we're doing now, having the podcast. I know that you post on LinkedIn regularly and I see that you're lively on there. I'm the same. I think having that personal brand out there, I think there's loads of benefits, but this is another benefit because if you've got like a LinkedIn profile that's clearly a real person and is authentic and genuine, I think that would help you if you're on the market looking for a job. And I think that will help you if you're a recruiter as well, because if it's clear that you're an actual person and you're not a bot or you're not, someone pretending to be someone else, that's going to help if we keep heading towards kind of this zero trust kind of climate, which I definitely think we are, because there's more and more stories coming out about this,
Absolutely. I did have a candidate who I reached out to on LinkedIn, and I sent him the information. I said, hey, would you be interested? And of course, he responded back, yes, I'm interested. Tell me more. And so then I responded back with my information that I wanted to provide him. And he came back with a very odd statement. I was kind of floored. I was like, okay, are you just being cheeky or are you still interested? And he responded back. I was like, I just have to test that you're a real person because I'm getting spammed. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, good thing I don't take offense easy. Sure, let's meet up with a call. But yeah, I was like, I was even hesitant about telling him. And I did tell him, are you being cheeky or are you really interested? I can't really tell. I'm going to be honest. So when I got him on the phone, he was very delightful to talk with and very excited to partner with him. And we had a great conversation. But yeah, I mean, recruiters that probably would have said, well, okay, never mind. And they would have moved on. And then both parties would have missed out on that opportunity. So it is a very interesting world out there right now, for sure.
One of my resources, Donna, she's really, really good, really responsive, responds really, really quickly. When the candidates have been coming on the calls to me, they've been saying to me, is that a bot you've got behind that profile? I'm like, no. She works quite long hours as well. So people are second guessing. And I'm like, no, seriously, she's real. She's on the team. She's been with us for quite a while. It's funny.
Yeah. It's like, what? You're a real person? You actually are working? Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you another interesting one I had was, so I think sometimes what's happening is people are getting other people's names off LinkedIn and then they are firing in application to certain security companies. So there's a client of mine, they're a really well-known security brand. I had a chat with a candidate recently. I was on the video interview for him for a long time, spoke to him before. I know he hadn't applied before. We were chatting away, great candidate. And my client came back and went, oh, he's applied 4 times. And I spoke to the candidate and he was like, look, Tom, I've never applied. And they were like, yeah, no, he's applied 4 times. You've rejected him 4 times. And I was like, and he had it, like he swears. I mean, I know sometimes there can be like different verbs, but I was like, I reckon that is a scenario where someone has basically made a resume, pretended to be him and fired it in to their website and gone into their ATS. So that's another set of problems that it can sometimes cause, is that sometimes companies can think that they've been liaising with a person they've rejected when they actually have never met that person. So it causes all sorts of problems from a recruitment perspective,
There is a lot of weird stuff that
there is.
Absolutely. Years ago when I was with MYR, we figured out that our job board was being scraped by another job board. The folks would apply to that job board and those positions would never make it to us. They would literally call those folks impersonating our company and try to sell them on a service. It was absolutely awful. I don't recall if anything actually happened to that company over it, but I definitely was a little bit more cognizant if somebody told me they'd never applied before after that, or reverse that they've applied many times and I can't find a single application, but it's because they were applying to a ghost site. And it's just crazy how that, just jumbles everything up. It just makes it that much harder.
It does, yeah. I know I'm biased though, but I think it increases the value of what people like me and you are doing, because, I think it does, because it means that initial screening call becomes more and more valuable and important, and the relationship piece becomes more and more valuable and important. And that's essentially what we're doing all day, every day. So yeah, I think it could really increase the value of what we do.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to just touch on that for a quick minute, if you're okay.
Yeah.
The value of having that first initial call with the customer and the candidate, that conversation is very important. And it kind of touches back in with that relationship building. Recruiters are busy. We have applications coming at us at all times. We are reaching out to people. We have people reaching out to us. And then we have all the fake things going on too. So there's a lot to sort out. If you have had a great conversation with a recruiter as a candidate, don't be shy about reaching back out. Either use the medium that they use to reach out to you or respond to an email and just check in. Hey, where are we on my application? Have you heard back from the hiring manager? Have you heard back from the customer? And that ping will help that recruiter like, oh, hey, you know what? I apologize. And it's not intentional a lot of times where people feel like they're being ghosted intentionally. I don't think that's the case. It's just literally bogged down. It's the same respect that I have had candidates completely forget that they had conversations with me because they too are being overwhelmed with the amount of reach outs and the amount of spam calls and things of that nature. So just don't be afraid to jump back in and just ping and say, hey, how's everything going with my application? And restart that conversation. It just adds value to that relationship you started, but also building that network relationship.
Yeah, Donna, I think that is a really valuable point because I don't think people do realize just how many plates recruiters are spinning. You know, I've had it before where we submitted a resume into one of my clients and then the candidate can't understand what's going on. And I'm like, no, you just won't realize that if a company's got sometimes 30, 40, 50 vacancies live on their side and maybe I'm helping out with 1, 2, or 3 of them. People are busy and they do need, as long as they're polite and gentle, they do need nudges. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with follow-up. And yeah, I think it's nice for people on the market to hear just how crazy it can be for a recruiter. If you've got quite a few searches live and you're speaking to quite a few candidates for each search, it gets really complicated and really busy really quick, doesn't it?
A lot of folks don't realize you might have a fairly good-sized company, but their recruiting team might be only 4 or 5 people.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. And sometimes it's less than that. And, you know, you consider if a recruiter has a workload of anywhere from 5 to 15 positions, and they're reaching out to 30 to 60 people per position, it can get thick real quick. We too are human, just like our candidates are. It's good to recognize that. And we all put our hands on the same way, one leg at a time, usually.
Yeah.
Just be kind.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to check in. Obviously, maybe not call us every single day or one call in the morning, one call in the afternoon. We might not have a response by then, but you know, once a week is sufficient or once every couple of weeks. And I know that sounds like crazy. Like, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks for a turnaround time? But yeah, it's not uncommon right now to see an or 15-day lead before we hear anything back.
Even though the market's pretty tough out there, I am noticing like companies, pretty much every company I'm dealing with, they're so busy internally still. Like there's still, even though there's lots of people on the market, especially the companies that are hiring, they're obviously still doing well because they're hiring. They are just so busy. And I think if someone's on the market and they may be out of work, getting a job is at the forefront of their mind. Whereas a technical hiring manager might be managing a team of 20 and 30, 40 people, and hiring is important to them, but it is only one part of their job. And it took me a long time to realize that as a recruiter. Like when I first started, I was like, I'll send the client the resume and that was yesterday and why haven't they replied? This is ridiculous. And I couldn't understand it. And then after a while, when you've been operating in the commercial world for a while, you realize that, okay, right, yeah, things are busy and people do need a bit of time and you kind of grasp it after a while. But if you just come onto the market and you've not been on the market for a while, I think actually getting your head around that can sometimes take a minute.
Oh, I would agree. Absolutely. And managers, I think nowadays, especially if their company is experiencing any kind of restructuring or cutbacks or anything like that, they still might need hiring or seats filled, but now they might be managing more than one team or more than one department. And there might be audits going on, or there might be project deadlines. There might be, I don't know, half a dozen reasons why they can't get to the resume today, or tomorrow's not looking good either. Maybe it'll be Friday. You know, they think to themselves, I got to get those resumes reviewed. that recruiter is calling me and bugging me, but I have XYZ I need to do. The relationship from the recruiter or business development manager, or whomever manages that relationship, they're doing the same thing the recruiter's doing with a candidate, constantly checking in and seeing where they're at, and they're eagerly waiting. So it is definitely a trickle effect up and down both sides.
It is, and that's happening across the board. I think there's plenty of CISOs out there that have got less budget, less people on their team, and it's like, no, you still better make sure the organization's kept secure. And it's like, okay. And then same with internal recruitment teams. We've been engaged on searches where the internal recruitment team are expected to do the same as what they were doing maybe a year ago. But instead of having 7 of them or 5 of them on the team, there's now 2. And it's like, well, God, that's going to be tricky, Yeah.
And I've talked to candidates that are in that situation in many different roles, cyber included, where they're expected to still do their part, but they're also covering the seat that's empty or 2 seats or whatever it might be. And it is hard. I think everybody probably identifies with that at some level.
Yeah. Cool, Donna. It's been a nice chat. This episode's genuinely going very quick. We've been chatting away for nearly 40 minutes.
Well, I could talk all day, but
you're a recruiter. I mean, letting 2 recruiters loose on a podcast is a dangerous game to play. We could be here all day.
Yeah, and we could speculate, we could talk. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully our jumping has been a good and that we hopefully help some folks. It's like me as a recruiter, the whole reason why I recruit is to help people find positions and work, because it's meaningful. It's so important to a candidate to find work now. It's because it's affecting their family. It's affecting their way of life. And it's important. So that's why I recruit. So I can help people find work and make sure our companies are getting what they need to so they can meet their mission as well.
Yeah. It is a nice feeling, I'm sure you get it as well, Donna, where like when someone's just accepted an offer and like they ring you, you speak to them after and they're just so good. They're like, thank you for reaching out. It's like, oh, this feels nice.
It's like Christmas.
Yeah, it feels good. And that feeling never gets old either, does it? It just feels just as good every time.
It doesn't. But it's equally as hard to tell the other candidates, I'm sorry, we're not moving forward with your candidacy, but I'd like to keep in touch with you. And I tell all my candidates that, and I mean it too. Check in with them.
I'll tell you what, Donna, have you noticed when you do that, it actually surprises me how many other recruiters don't do that, because the reaction I get a lot of time is like, wow, thanks for feeding back, because so many people just don't. It's like people are really appreciative, because I always feel awkward going into those conversations, but 9 times out of 10 people are really grateful that you've actually made the call, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think that's part of the due diligence. When it comes down to it, if you as a recruiter talk to 50, it might be high. For an admin, that might be high. But for cybersecurity, you probably talk to at least 10 really solid folks for that position. On that 10, you submitted 6 because that's what the customer wants. Out of that 6, maybe 3 got interviewed. You're still communicating with those initial 10. Those that don't move forward, you're still making that connection and letting them know, hey, we're not moving forward. Keep you in mind. And it's not like you have to make 10 phone calls right after one another. It's a gradual process. So it should be manageable. Now, have there been times I haven't been able to make a personal phone call? Absolutely. But I definitely make sure that I get an email out at minimum to let them know what's going on.
One thing I do, Donna, if it's helpful, is I either make the call, like you suggested, or I'll leave a video. If there's a lot of people, I'll leave a video or a voice note, and I'll say on that video, listen, I'm here for a call. If you want me to call you, I'm more than happy to call. I just wanted to get this information across to you ASAP so you weren't, left hanging. I can give really detailed feedback on a video. Some people are like, no, it's fine. Please keep me in mind for future things. Other people are like, yeah, do you mind just hopping on the phone with me? I find that kind of works quite well. And then at least people know what's going on quicker, and it's quite efficient from the recruiter's side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think any medium that you use, whether it's phone, email, or video, whatever it might be, I think any candidate is appreciative of that. I know I am. In the times that I've been a candidate, I try to always remember that as a recruiter, what my candidates are going through, and have I done my due diligence? And I think that's a great tip.
Donna, so the last question I'd like to ask, which book have you read that's had the most positive impact on your career? It doesn't have to be recruitment. It doesn't have to be anything to do with security or anything like that. It can just be any book that's made you the best version of yourself. But it can be book, it can be podcast, it could be online content you've consumed? Is there anything that springs to mind that's helped you that could help the listeners?
A few years ago, I was really blessed to have the opportunity to go through your big items that you need to do every day and some other littler items that maybe not as high priority. I think that that's helped in my recruiting career because I've been able to identify every day I make a plan and I identify the top 3 things that I absolutely need to get done. And then I identify my other maybe 3 or 4 items I would like to get done. And those items might move to the next day if I don't get them done. But it really has impacted my ability to stay focused and do what's most important. I know it might sound like kind of quirky, but it really is putting perspective in. I don't know if you've ever been sitting at your desk like, oh, man, I've got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. And you've rattled off 10, 15 items. It's very overwhelming for most people. And those items are not going to even get touched more than likely because things come up constantly through the day. But if you just have 2 to 3 things that are really important, it helps you. It's helped me stay successful in that respect and being able to just know at the end of the day, I might have had like 15 interruptions today, but I got my 3 things done and I'm a happy girl. Moving on to the next day.
Yeah, Donna, I really like that. I actually did this. It was a course about learning about recruitment and setting up an agency and stuff like that. And they had this thing on it called fire mode. And it was basically talking about how if you really focus on your high priority tasks for the first 2 hours of the day, and you can have your first 2 hours uninterrupted and just be really, really hyper focused. It was basically saying, you'll probably get more done in that first 2 hours than what most people do in a whole day. I find I'm really focused in the mornings. I know some people are really focused at night, but if you get up and just do, it does feel good and it really helps.
Yes, agreed. I'm hyper focused in the morning and then like midday, I'm Caliga. And then, then I get my last rush towards the end of the day. So I have 2 periods of the day that I'm hyper focused.
Yeah, and that's so true. In recruiting, it's so true as well, because when you've got vacancies on, stuff happens in the day. You can't plan like afternoons. Like it's just mayhem.
There are some days that things happen and you're like, I couldn't make this up if I tried. Exactly. I didn't even see this happening.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. But no, Donna, thanks. It's been a really nice conversation. There's been loads of useful stuff in there for listeners and folks out there. So thanks for that.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me in and having the opportunity to do this. It's my first time. And I hope somebody out there found something helpful and just appreciate your time.
Yeah, definitely. Now, see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.